Have you ever felt that tightening in your belly when someone challenges a position you hold? That flicker of defensiveness before curiosity arrives? What if that moment is where love actually begins? Welcome to Spiritual Geography. I'm Joni Miller. I've been noticing something in our national conversations. It's easier to take a strong position when the consequences won't land on you, when the pain, disruption, and fear belong to others. Distance doesn't just shape our politics, it shapes our souls. When we aren't personally at risk, we can speak with certainty. When the cost is abstract, compassion can be merely theoretical. I didn't have the language for this when I was young, but I had an influential teacher who asked us to imagine what we could not yet see. My 10th grade English teacher, Mrs. Wubnig, assigned a major paper about war in the spring semester. We read stories that showed the people inside the uniforms. In The Red Badge of Courage, I felt the fear of the boy holding his weapon. In All Quiet on the Western Front, I saw young men on opposite sides of a battlefield who were far more alike than different, each with families and with futures. But the piece that haunted me the most was Mark Twain's The War Prayer. In The War Prayer, Twain tells the story of a church filled with people praying for victory in war. They are sincere, patriotic, certain. Then a stranger interrupts the service and deciphers what their prayer actually means. If you ask for triumph, he says, you're also asking for the enemy's sons to be torn apart, for mothers to grieve, for homes to burn. The stranger forces them to confront something spiritual, not strategic. The sacredness of the lives on the other side of their prayer. And when the cost became visible, they rejected him. Not because they didn't understand, but because they didn't want to see. That moment feels painfully familiar, and not only in public debates, but in my own heart. It's easy to speak confidently about war when the consequences land elsewhere. It's easy to debate policies or anything really when the disruption reshapes someone else's daily life. When the consequences fall unevenly, those untouched can argue in abstraction, while those affected embody the pain. This dynamic is inside me. When someone names a cost I hadn't considered, I feel a tightening in my belly, a reflex to defend before I've really listened. That tightening is a spiritual crossroads. Will I protect my certainty? Or will I let love widen me? And that is how souls are shaped. All of us hold opinions whose consequences we don't personally absorb. The question isn't whether we will feel that tightening when our positions are exposed as being incomplete, we will. The question is whether we will stay long enough to let that discomfort teach us, to let it reveal the humanity of the other, the sacred value of every human life. Staying in that place is uncomfortable. It requires us to imagine consequences that don't belong to us. It asks us to let someone else's vulnerability interrupt our certainty. But perhaps that's where love begins. Not with agreement, not with perfect policy, but with the willingness to imagine the cost on the other side of our convictions. Love is not sentiment. It is the discipline of imagination. It asks us to stay when we may want to turn away, to listen when we may want to justify, to remember the sacredness of lives that will never look like ours. In Mark Twain's story, the congregation dismissed the stranger and returned to their prayer unchanged. We don't have to. We can notice the tightening. We can resist the reflex to turn away. We can let the fuller interpretation reshape us before harm becomes personal. Because the measure of our love is not how passionately we defend what protects us. It's whether we can let another person's cost matter, another person's life matter, even when our own lives remain untouched. And that is how we grow more love. We don't understand the mysteries of the universe, but we can grow more love. Love for ourselves, love for others, and love for the infinite mystery that lays beyond our understanding. Thank you for tuning in.